Oh, well, hello there. I'm Bryan Thao Worra, a Lao Minnesotan poet laureate, and I was just looking through a couple of poets over the last couple of years that I've been collecting quotes from, that I feel like I should probably share with you today. David Antin says, I was trying to find out what it was that everybody else understood without giving up my stubborn and hard-won lack of understanding. John Ashbery says, there's the view that poetry should improve your life. I think people confuse it with the Salvation Army. Amiri Baraka says, since the rich eat more than anybody else, it is reasonable to assume they are more full of shit. Bill Berkson says, Plato or comics, I'm versatile. I used to worry about not having a signature style or central subject matter or a fixed character of poetry, and at some point the worry ceased. I gave myself permission to do what I've been doing all along without worrying about it. Charles Bernstein says, the poetry is not in speaking to the dead, but listening to the dead. May Bersenberg said, the ethos and critique of poetry which becomes a rich dark with a phosphorescence of lyric as witness. Richard Brautigan said, sometimes life is merely a matter of coffee and whatever intimacy a cup of coffee affords. Jim Brodey says, lately I've come to think of the typewriter as a symphonic instrument on which I pound out vast insect music. James Broughton remarked, adventure, not predicament. While Michael Brownstein says, there's nothing more depressing than a self-made man. The notorious William Burroughs says, cheat your landlord if you can and must, but do not try to shortchange the muse. It cannot be done. You can't fake quality any more than you can fake a good meal. John Cage says, Ernesto Cardenal says, life is subversive. It seems to me the great bards of the 20th century are in publicity, those Keatses and Shelley singing the Colgate smile, cosmic Coca-Cola, the pause that refreshes, the make of car that will take us to the land of happiness. Jim Carroll says, I once said a poet has the right to sing as loudly and vocally as he wants to. Most poets should face a rock and roll audience for one night to keep them honest. Neely Tchaikovsky says, there's a reality beyond the ordinary, a poetic as opposed to a prosaic view of the world, an unpremeditated outlook relying on spontaneous revelation of world and form. Tom Clark says, I think they have a natural relationship. The best poems and the best baseball games share a dramatic tension you can't find in very many places. Jack Collum says, as ashes are the shadow of smoke, panic is the shadow of light, beef the shadow of grass, love the shadow of attention. Logos is the shadow of what happens. Clark Coolidge says, words have a universe of qualities other than those of descriptive relation. Hardness, density, sound shapes, vector force and degrees of transparency, opacity. Hey. Lucia Corpi says, I engage with poetry musically. I think I hear the music of a poem before I put words to it. The poem comes to me as it were a song more than a string of words or images. If I can't transport that musical quality to the poem, then it doesn't exist for me. Gregory Corso says, standing on a street corner waiting for no one is power. Jane Cortez says, find your own voice and use it. Use your own voice and find it. Robert Creeley says, hopefully I write what I don't know. Victor Hernandez Cruz says, migration is the story of my body. Jelani Davis says, "You don't know what love is until someone lives with you while you write a book." Diane DePrima says, "Sweetheart, when you break through, you'll find a poet here, not quite what one would choose." And Dawn says, "We need help," a poet reckoned. Sharon Dordago says, "The local paper is called The World." Kirby Doyle says, "The interchangeable ballistics of human love fade in scholastic tears, like a child's wash-drawn left in the rain." And with that, I'll leave you to some more things to consider and ponder, and I'll be back with you all later. Have a great night.